Hello beautiful people, this video is about how to manage commitments. The reason why this is so important is it's part of a series of 5 videos that I'm doing around the foundational elements of high-performing teams. So I did a number of videos around high-performing teams, but there's one critical component to high-performing teams, which is their ability to be able to make commitments to each other, real commitments to each other, their ability to be able to have each other's backs, their ability to build trust with each other. And the cornerstone, the sort of foundation of all of that is this idea of commitments are promises. And so I want to talk to you about that in even more depth so you can begin to start practicing it yourself and see where it gets you. See what impact you have on other people if you start trading in promises, if you start really getting serious around the promises that you can make and that you can't make, and you begin to have those conversations. I was working with an amazing group a couple of times this week. And one of the things that we came out with in terms of a clear conversation we were having is that we were saying that if you're not making commitments, if you're not willing to have the difficult conversations that sometimes come associated with making real commitments, in which times, in certain cases, you're saying no to things, or you're managing commitments, in which case you're declaring that things aren't working, the more sophisticated you can get in having those conversations and the more easily you can have those conversations to the point where they are no longer difficult conversations for you. They're conversations you need to prepare for, and they're conversations that aren't necessarily easy, but they're not difficult conversations in that you shy away from them and don't have them. The more sophisticated you can get in having and practiced you can get in having those conversations, the higher you are up in the organization, because the people at the top of the organization are the people who are either bullying everyone else into doing what it is they want them to do, don't want to follow those kind of people, are the people who are very sophisticated at having the conversations associated with having other people's backs, managing and maintaining commitments, having repair conversations and moving forward. So let's dive in a little bit more and talk about that and see how that's relevant for you and how it can help you with your teams, with your projects, with your promotions, with your ability to be able to get work done inside your org. So I want to talk about what it means to actually manage commitments. I also want to talk to you about the life cycle of a promise. I did another video on promises made, promises kept, and you can find that here. But I want to also talk about this in the context of how we manage commitments as a whole. And then I want to talk about tools and practices to turn commitments into reliable outcomes. So let's talk about the commitment life cycle. The commitment is a very important foundational element of all projects. Now, it's not synonymous with tasks, because the big difference is that when we make a commitment to another human being, we're doing it voluntarily. We're doing it in complete freedom. As a matter of fact, if you think about it in terms of when people agree to get married together, what they're doing there, and the person who's conducting the ceremony usually asks them, do you come here of your own volition? Are you coming here in complete free will? Is this a decision that you have made on your own that you are happy with? Now, they won't ask that to that extent, but they're asking, are you coming here of your own free will, and are you in a position to make, are you in any way being coerced around making this decision? So for someone to undertake a commitment as huge as agreeing to spend a long period or most of their, or all of their lives, the rest of their lives with another human being, they're making a commitment there. And we know, humanity knows, that you can't make that as a real commitment under duress. And yet many times inside teams, what we do is we assign tasks and we assume that the person is going to pick that up and run with it and make it happen. And we rarely stop to ask them, do you understand what it's about? Do you understand the context? Do you have bandwidth to be able to do it? Do you have capacity to be able to do it? Is this something that you can actually commit to? Is this something you want to commit to? Is this something you know you can follow through on? And in the absence of giving people the opportunity to either say no or to negotiate, most of the time we're kind of requesting that they negotiate. Sometimes they do need to say no if they have some kind of emergency or something else going on. But in the absence of giving people the opportunity to be able to negotiate, they can't make real commitments. So the most interesting thing about commitments is, in the absence of being able to say, no, I can't make a firm yes, we as humanity know that because we go through that process whenever we think about a long-term relationship that people are making a public commitment to or signing documentation around, as in a marriage. But what we don't do is we don't translate that into our projects. If we start thinking about commitments as a cornerstone of the success of our projects, to where we can really begin to be able to rely on work that is going to get done because we have now engaged the intelligence of the team, not just the work capacity of the team or the horsepower of the team, we're engaging the intelligence of the team. Once we start doing that, and the autonomy of the team, once we start doing that, then we can actually begin to start looking at reliable, knowing that the commitments are reliable and knowing really what work is going to get done. So many teams that I work with, they spend lots of time and lots of energy and lots of effort reporting on status updates, letting their boss or their team lead know where things stand and what's going to get done and what isn't. There's a massive variable in that we pay very, very little attention to, and that is this magic notion of what really is a commitment. So let's talk for a moment about what a commitment really is before we start thinking about how we can manage them. The life cycle of a commitment, it begins with a request or an offer. The way that I'm talking about commitments, think of them in terms of the marriage commitment that people make to each other. Think of them in terms of a handshake that friends who've trusted each other and known each other for a long time will make to each other. They look each other in the eye and they'll say, absolutely, I agree to this, or I commit to this, or yes, I will do this for you. That level of commitment is rare, but it doesn't have to be. That level of commitment can be brought into organizations because every single person knows that there's enormous satisfaction to be derived from delivering on a commitment to another person. Sometimes when I run working sessions with big teams, I ask them whether or not they had someone not deliver to them today. Everyone will put their hands up. Whether or not they got upset or frustrated with someone else on the team because something didn't happen when it was supposed to happen, everyone will put their hands up. And then I will ask them whether or not they came into work today intentionally to not deliver on something or to piss someone else off. And everybody laughs because we don't come into work to do that. So if we're coming in with the intention of making real commitments to each other, knowing the feeling of satisfaction that we get when those get delivered on, and we want to be able to identify them and deliver on them and feel proud about having delivered on them, then there must be something wrong with our structures to where we are creating frustration and disenfranchise and distrust with each other. So back to the life cycle of a commitment or a promise starts with a commitment or an offer. There's a negotiation to where we create alignment, and that negotiation is done out of complete freedom. Now, we're still recognizing that someone is doing a job and getting paid for it, but let's assume that their intent is to make that commitment and that they understand the freedom associated with making or not making it. Their predisposition is to try and identify and understand that commitment and make it and get to that handshake. The execution is the phase that we're most comfortable with. And in the absence of having clear negotiation, many times we will just dive into execution because we feel safer in there, because we appear to be busy and we appear to be doing work. Teams that I have worked with that are highly effective are ones where they understand that execution is only about a quarter of what needs to be done, only about a quarter of the importance of the work that needs to be done, that the design of the offers and the requests, that the negotiation of the offers and the requests are actually as important as the execution because they're what set the execution on the right track. And then the final phase is where the work gets completed. Now, that phase of work getting completed is also incredibly important because not only are we saying the work's done, but we're opening the door to be able to cement the trust that we've looked to build with our customer for the duration of the work. We're also opening the door to do massive learning around how we coordinate with that person in terms of their preferences for how work gets done, how it gets delivered, when it gets delivered, in what format, what way works for them. And we can calibrate that to be able to serve them better depending on what it is we have available to us in terms of flexibility. But we're also learning from them, how could I have done this better? What did I miss seeing? What was it that you were looking for that I didn't understand? So if we think about that as the commitment life cycle, and we think about our ability to be able to execute through that at speed, we're now looking for people to be able to practice things at the same speed as the speed of a football game or a rugby game. And we're asking people to move around very, very quickly. if we haven't helped them practice understanding what commitments really are, and we haven't helped them set up the circumstances in which they have the freedom to really be able to make commitments, we are hampering them from being able to play a beautiful game. And any of you who've watched beautiful sports games, you know the magic and you know the moment and you know the pride that people have when they have scored that goal or they have won the game or they have won the match. And so we can create that environment for our own people to work within our teams and deliver on that. If you find this idea of managing commitments as being something that could accelerate the success of your project, or could create an environment that you would enjoy working in, or could open up or capitalize on the brilliance and intelligence of your team, then I encourage you to look at my Execution by Design paper, because it does talk specifically about this, and it talks about what happens when we're not able to do this, and it relates some of those breakdowns to how to begin to get out of them and how to begin to transform your way of executing on a project. It's available in a link in the comments below. It is also available on my website, which is www.jenniferkenny.com/execution. Download it, read it, have a look at it, let me know what you think about it, and drop me a comment below and let me know how you see this in terms of your ability to be able to deliver on your own commitments and to integrate some of this thinking into the success of your project. As you do this, I wish you the very best of luck. Keep me posted and take care.